You're watching Sunday Morning Matters on KC24, your local election headquarters.
Just a couple of days after announcing he will not seek re-election, Fresno Mayor Lee Brand pulled back the curtain on his new budget plans for 2020. He called it the status quo budget. Brand also called Fresno one of the best managed cities in America. His new budget increased by 3.5%. It stands just shy of $1.2 billion. Let's dive right into round two with our panel. Larry Powell, Diane Pearce, and Veva Islas. And Veva, I want to start with you here about his budget. Do you believe, he wants new police cars, about a fleet of 71 of them, a new fire station, more money for parks, as you were talking about Measure P in the last block. How do you like his budget, the way he's divvied it up so far?
So I am happy to see a larger investment going into parks. Again, I think it was a huge missed opportunity not to back and support Measure P, because it would have created substantially more investments into neighborhoods and parks than what we have right now. So, we have a large city. We need law enforcement. We need fire stations, and parks needs to be considered part of that infrastructure. So having a robust park system will have, huge benefits for our city.
Larry, the mayor said it was one of the best managed cities in America, calling Fresno that. You agree?
Sure. I do, because of what's going on with retirement money. We're really solid there compared to a lot of cities in California that are underwater. And so I think that's been really good. But I also want to give credit not just to the current mayor, but a couple of former mayors who helped get us on the right track for that as well. But budgets are tough because everybody wants more than the money they have. And so that's always going to be a bit of a battle. This is a pretty status quo budget. There's not anything in there that really stands out like, oh, we can't go there, we shouldn't be able to do that. I think it's a pretty solid budget. It's one that's going to carry us to the next year, and it's one that I think can get the votes, because you have to have support for the budget now. People have to approve a balanced budget.
Diane, I'll say this. Governor Newsom, when he released his budget, he had more money in there to attack homelessness. Obviously, that has to depend on municipalities and cities and all that good stuff. But here, Fresno Mayor gave more money to parks, and we didn't see more money towards the homeless project. Did he miss here?
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of different ways that they've been trying to tackle and address the homelessness problem, the homelessness crisis that is in the city. A number of the measures that came forward recently didn't get where they needed to get in the city council, and so obviously some other attempts and tacks are going to be needed to try and get something effective done there. But I also want to say, as far as Measure P is concerned, I think Mayor Brand is playing a long game for the future prosperity of Fresno, and to have supported Measure P, which I personally feel was a flawed measure because of the length of the term from a 30-year tax and all those things. He had to be true to what his principles were and what he believed was needed for the future prosperity of Fresno, and I think that's what he did there. And that's why he's still working to try and fund parks further, but in a more fiscally responsible way.
You're bugging out here.
I am. I mean, again, when we think about the potential investments in righting the years of neglect to neighborhoods like South Central and Southeast Fresno, there's no way that I would agree with anything like that. We do need to look at the city as a whole. We have neglected areas. There are places that are very risky for people to walk or bike. We haven't seen investments in infrastructure in many places where poor people live, quite honestly. So we need to stop acting like we've been fair and impartial and that we're playing the long game. The long game means investing in those neighborhoods that have been neglected.
I want to get to this, the dirty politics. I had to ask the tough question because I saw it on Twitter, much like a lot of people, about the attack on Jerry Dyer's life, about 40 years ago. Larry, I'll come to you. Nasty politics, will it enter this race at all angles?
I think it will, but I think it has a negative effect on the person who uses it, not the person it's against. People are pretty sophisticated when it comes to these kinds of things, and I never, ever support anybody who comes after somebody without telling me where do they stand on an issue, what are they going to do when they get in there. I'm not as interested in that personal side as a lot of people are. I want to know what you're going to do, not what you dislike about somebody else. And when you take that position, then you've already turned me off, and a whole bunch of my friends are going to say, we're not going to support you if you use that as a tactic. What are you going to do? That's what I want to know.
Veva, you believe
Well,
in that?
Again,
Because it could get very nasty.
yeah, you could call it nasty or you could call it truth, right? Like these accusations are founded on history
is
that
it
has
fair?
been admitted.
But
I
is
think
it fair?
I think it is fair to call people to question for something that they have already admitted to doing. And, you know, I think that we have to have a mayor that's going to build trust, that is going to build unity. And again, I just don't feel that that's Chief
Has
Dyer.
Chief Dyer built that trust? Diane?
Absolutely. I think there's no question about that. And, you know, you're looking at something that is over 30 years old that was public then. It's public now. He's admitted it. He's asked for forgiveness. He went before the church and asked for forgiveness. And as someone who appreciates and has received the grace of God for mistakes that I've made in the past, I completely understand what he means when he says, I don't want to be judged for who I was. Look at who I am and the track record that I've built since then. And that's what people are going to do.
All right, this is a loaded question, but I just got a few seconds. Real quick, Brand's legacy, is it on good standing ground, yes or no? We'll start with Larry.
I think it is because I think what he can do in the next 18 months can be transformational for the city. So that's the thing I want to see.
Diane, yes or no? Good standing?
Excellent. Excellent standing.
Veva?
I think he could have done better.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. Spirited conversation. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be much fun over the last 18 months here until we get to the race. All right. Still to